doing?
I'm doing well. Paul, thanks for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, the man who just made the Dio album. Not just a Dio album, but the Dio album. And if you don't own this, shame on you, fix it right now. It's excellent. What inspired you, apart from, well, actually, it's a story about a hat, isn't it? And you're actually wearing a hat.
Well, I got one of my own. I saw somebody who had one in the back of their car. It was just sitting there, and I thought, that person doesn't leave the house without their Dio hat. It made me happy to live in the world for a moment.
And that inspired the album, really?
So I got, well, the thing that inspired the album was in 1980 when Heaven and Hell came out, and I heard Neon Nights on the radio.
That would do it.
And then just getting into, you know, every band Dio was in, Black Sabbath, Rainbow, Dio, of course. And then more recently, trying to improve my guitar playing by taking a lesson from the best guitar teacher in the world, Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah, so by aping his vocal.
Well, it's a different way of playing than, you know, because I come from, you know, the world of scales, and, you know, when I was, you know, like everybody who takes guitar lessons,
right?
You know, you think, okay, well, that's the goal. How quick can I make that?
Right.
And then that's if you win, if you're the quickest.
You're on TikTok with hundreds and thousands of likes.
But maybe the other thing that inspired this album was failure and humiliation. There was a Christmas party I went to a long time ago, and somebody played Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer on piano, and there was a guitar there. I picked it up, and I tried to play the melody. And if I would have been playing the kazoo, I could have done it. I would have nailed it, first take. Guitar, I was like, where's Rudolph? I don't know how to play, you know, where are the Rudolph notes? And it was a horrible failure. And you know, because I'm supposed to be like a guitar player that can play things. Yeah,
you know, from satchel to satch, you're held in reverence.
And to fail on Rudolph would just, again, planted a seed of kind of thinking, maybe I should check out this melody thing. Maybe there's something to it.
Yeah, discontent, a seed of discontent.
Yeah. And so I thought, well, where am I going to get these melodies? And singers in general are masters of melody, and Ronnie James Dio in particular. And I think, like, I have an online school, and I started teaching and to
like
figure out how to breathe some life into that.
Right.
Because it's normally, you know, 3 notes, but somehow that's not the same as, you know.
Right.
And you know, and to get there, half the time you don't hit the note on the head. You got to hit below it, either bend or slide, or, you know, figure out what to use. So there's a lot of instincts to build, because you can't on the fly. I'm not smart enough to work that out.
Yeah, me neither, I guess.
So that's the thing. Like, doing this Dio album was building instincts, in the hopes that someday at the Christmas party I'll be able to nail Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And
so Rudolph and Dio, that's
and basically just connect, because I grew up, you know, listening to mostly vocal music.
Right.
And as a frustrated singer, to be able to take my favorite instrument and step into the shoes of someone who can really handle melody, it's a beautiful thing.
Well, that's one of the things we're always told: play with more feeling. But what is feeling, though? And the answer is, listen to a vocalist. That's a very, you can't just add
singers
vibrato.
have a handle on that, and I mean, a lot of it is contrast.
Right.
And that's, again, the danger about playing scales, is that maybe the note will change, but everything else is same attack, same tone, same length, same rhythm. And so there's a lot of sameness going on, and as guitar players, we train our hands to do all these things the same.
Right.
When you take apart a vocal line, like, every note is different than the last one. I mean, like Holy Diver, that, you know, it's some long notes, and then a short one, and then a real low one. He has got this, like, you know, Ruben, and this has got to be muted.
Yep.
And then the others are so physically you got to do stuff to make that happen. So if you just go, you know,
not quite the same.
You know, it's and there's like a charm to that actually.
Right.
If you put a pedal on it, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like in a way, I mean, I'm not an expert on surf music, but when I hear like when in my imagination is surf music, it's sort of like, you know, and there's a lot of the sameness to it,
Right.
And it's kind of cool. You know, it's like
Right.
this sort of stiff.
Yep.
You know, they've just made that choice.
Yep.
And within those boundaries, it's really cool. But you know, but singers don't sing like that. You know,
No.
there's one I can think of that does, but I'll let him go unnamed.
Is auto-tune involved? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, because the last time you were at Sweetwater, actually, you did a wonderful like masterclass in the evening, and you started, and if you remember this, but you started by going, there's one lick you all need to know, and all these little shredders are going, he's going to blow me away, and you actually played the start to Have a Drink on Me by AC/DC.
Yeah. And that, you find that singers do that all the time.
Right.
And, you know, various permutations. But then you have like the standard guitar way is, even that, there's like a couple different ways to do it, because you know, the first two fingers, but then that you misses the ends, becomes hard because you have a big stretch. That's like the Gary Moore way of doing it.
Right.
Or then I tend to use these fingers because it makes the end easy.
Gotcha.
You know, then I'm in, you know, got my box pad and I'm,
Yep.
but you know, either way, it's either hard at the beginning or hard at the end, so you just make your choice. But yeah, what's the, now the thing with Dio is like that tends to be kind of a bluesy, Dio tends to be more the minor thing.
Right.
So the thing that I found there was doing like in Long Live Rock and Roll, where it's a minor scale, and to be able to get like that move, especially like with slide or
Right.
or how did I do it? Yeah, that, because you have to shift your hand. I had to put my whole hand position down in order to get under it with enough power to get some control
Gotcha.
on it, and then back up. So I'm doing a lot of horizontal movement. And then I got to know where, you know, down this. That's a big move.
Yeah, it is.
And this, you know, the slide works nice too.
So how did you approach the Dio thing? I would imagine the hardest thing to do was to actually choose only 12 songs. How tough was that process?
Yeah.
And you've done it you've got 4 Rainbow, 4 Sabbath, 4 Dio.
Yeah, tried to split it
keep
evenly.
it evenly, and it was.
But some of the songs, I mean, that I was almost did, I love them so much, like Stargazer or Light in the Black.
Right.
Such a great riff.
Yeah.
And but those have long guitar solos or keyboard solos in them. And this is the Dio album. So I want to focus on the singing.
Gotcha.
So that's why I would, you know, instead I'd go, because there's a lot of, you know, that's like short solo.
Right.
And a lot of vocals. So that I knew I would learn more by spending time with the vocals rather than spending time with learning the guitar and keyboard parts.
And now, how hard was that process to go from guitar mentality to vocal mentality? I mean, how did you do it?
Well, I've been doing it a while. I couldn't have just jumped in out of nowhere. So it really is just learning songs. Like any, you know, whatever you want to do, songs is kind of your best teacher. So
Imagine that. Yeah.
So you know, a lot of this stuff growing up, I learned the rhythm guitar parts.
Right.
You know, so like when I was 15 years old, I'm playing, you know, Kill the King, and,
Right.
and like the solo, and by the way, like that's not how Richie does the.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's like, you know, the left hand's got it easy, but the right hand's
It's brutal, yeah.
I can't play that fast. So I give all the work to the left hand. But then, you know, so you know, I spent time learning a lot of those songs as a kid. So in a way, I had a fighting chance of getting the rhythms fairly quickly. But yeah, the vocals, and at first glance, like for example, you got Neon Nights. Just those first two notes.
Right.
Now I'm going to play that better. But it's, you know, on paper, da, da, you know. So, you know, but that's not getting the point across.
No, not at all.
So like, what is it? You know, maybe. And then I got to really find that harmonics. Like a certain. Yeah, right there. Let's just see if I can get it. So. Almost. That's getting a little better.
Yep.
So I did that for the whole album. I'd take like two notes and find the harmonics and figure out my, you know, slide up to it, give it some vibrato. There's that lick.
Yep.
And then you start to feel it. That last note I felt chills in my body. And I'm like, this album, more than any other album I've done in my life, I got so many chills.
Right, no, I bet.
Really fun getting that.
Now, what was interesting about watching you getting those harmonics, if that was a 24 fret guitar, or God forbid 34 or 36,
well, this
you probably wouldn't be able
22.
To but you're right on 22.
Well,
so.
For some of the album, I had some old, I found like the Ibanez Roadstar, which
really?
is basically like similar to a Strat neck.
Yeah,
It's more round radius, so that you got to get the action high.
Right, right.
And it's 21 frets, and you could get more access to the pick harmonics.
Right.
Which is funny because, like, you know, of course, I have the good fortune of having heavy metal fans, and all the heavy metal guitar players write into me like, dude, why are you using 24 fret guitar? Come on, 24 is more. You know,
More
it's
is
more.
better.
Use the biggest number.
It's
you know,
two notes more.
And the thing is, like, although you can fret higher notes, when you do the pick harmonics, you start bumping into the edge of the fretboard.
Yeah, you run out of pick harmonic real estate.
Maybe if you try, if I practice more, maybe I get it. But it seemed easier. I mean, actually, after I did the record, I took an old Ibanez Blazer into the shop and had them take a fret out, so it's a 20 fret. And I had them like shave the wood off just to see like what happens if I have even more room.
And did it work?
I could get, you know, if in the key of C sharp, I could get some things that I couldn't get otherwise. But, you know, so 21 and 22 seem to get the job done pretty well.
Now, the thing that interested me is that, you know, everyone assumes, so it's a metal album, so it's going to be E or A, but I did a list of the 12 songs in the keys. There are 3 E's, 2 A's, but there are 4 G's.
Wow, there's a C.
Because, yeah, there's a C and a D.
And there's also the B, because Starstruck.
Yeah.
Thank goodness there's not an F, though.
Right, yeah,
That's
exactly.
like, is it lazy? That's when you got a keyboard player in the band.
Then you've got to
You're in danger of like F and G songs getting in there. Although Blackmore had a lot of...
G seems to miss one, yeah, like Smoke on the Water's G, like the one you just played, Man on the Silver Mountain. In fact, so you've got, like in G, you've got the 3 Rainbow songs apart from Starstruck.
Yeah.
But you've also got the Black Sabbath song.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Lady Evil, yeah.
What a riff.
He's just a master. We were talking about that earlier. He references at the end.
Oh, at the end
right?
of the solo, I think it modulates to A, and it's something like, was it? It might be in G.
Yeah.
Of course, it's Cliff Richard. He's a devil woman with evil armor. A different key, but
yeah.
I was like, Lady Evil, Devil Woman, same riff.
Yeah. Like I said, my theory is Tony did it in humour in the hope that one day someone like your good self will be at Sweetwater going, you know
I
what?
can't believe it took people this long to figure it out.
Lady Evil has Devil Woman in it. A reference to it. It's kind of funny. But
Well,
it's cool.
the other one that's amazing is, Stand Up and Shout. The melody, it's the same old song, gotta be somewhere sometime, which is, if you move it down to,
yeah,
take us down to Clarksville, and the same old song, you gotta be somewhere sometime.
that's a great song.
So I did a mashup at home with Pro Tools. Because they're only a key apart.
Right.
So I dropped one, raised the other. You can find the isolated tracks on YouTube.
Right, right.
And I made Ronnie join the Monkees for a song. It fits perfect.
Yeah, the tempo's about the same. Yeah, that's funny. Hey, but there's only 12 notes, right? As Mr. Holdsworth once said.
Yeah, well, 12 notes and a lot of rhythm.
Yeah.
And the contrast. Again, whenever you form contrast, it's amazing. Like I'll tell my students to do this sometimes, and it makes them sound better immediately. If I said, just when you're doing a solo, like improvising, just pay attention to play some long notes and some short notes back and forth. So, if you're going, play a long note. Did a short, did a short, did a long. It's so stupid, but it like immediately makes your playing just come to life. And the singers are masters at that.
Yeah, and the thing that interests me is that on our drive from your hotel this morning, you started talking about finding the beauty in like rhythmic playing. Like you said, you're finding your strength from your students' weakness. Could you expand upon that?
I think I really noticed that with Blackmore, where. His solos would, you could take away the drums,
right,
and you'd still have a strong sense of where the groove is. And I realized, like, some of my big guitar heroes when I was a kid, it was like the birth of shred.
Right.
So you're doing your licks as fast as you can, and as long as if there's a rhythm section, Alex Van Halen's going to tell the audience, where the groove is.
Right.
And then Eddie can go, over the top, and he always lands it. He knows where he is. But Blackmore would be more like. You know where you are the whole time.
Yeah, you don't only know the groove, you know where one is half the time.
Yeah. And so, also from teaching, I realized that that's often the missing element.
Right.
It's like the person has spent the time to get their fingers to go up and down the scale, but the having a vocabulary of rhythmic phrases that just flow, and it's It can take a simple scale and breathe life into it.
Right.
I'll get the students, like, can you show me some exotic scales? I was like, how about 3 notes good?
That's a new scale, 3 notes
which is,
good.
And again, with a lot of vocal melodies aren't, you're not, although I should say with Dio, they are wide melodies, right. which is actually makes it easier to get them across, because even if you play them without a lot of embellishment, you can still at least recognizable.
Right.
Or if I did like a Bob Dylan record, it'd be like, what is that? It really heavily relied on the lyrics,
right,
and the style, and not so much a melody, because if you go, and then this part, that you don't need the lyrics, you know what it is.
Right.
So that's the nice thing about having a singer that really has a broad range and is singing, melodies that have a lot of movement in them.
Now, how did you find it? Did it make your vibrato better as well, and your bending doing this?
Well, I'm always working on that, but I would say one of the things that I discovered was these in-between notes that I never would have thought of on my own. Again, like Holy Diver, you know, the
coming from below.
And when I'm really listening to the detail, I'm going, "Are you sure that's the note?" Because it's major all of a sudden.
And then he brings it up. Yeah.
But it's not a major chord progression.
No.
But he's not emphasizing it that way. He's not using it like, I'll just sit here for a long time until it sinks in. He's just using it as a starting point.
Yeah.
To give a certain, to make your face squinch up, And I'm cheating by hitting the note there. Really, if I really want to do it right, I'd probably go and then pre-bend it.
Yeah.
But that's there's not time for that, as Derek Smalls would say when trying to find Cleveland.
So, if someone is watching this and going, "Wow, so I can learn a lot by copying vocalists." Obviously, Dio is an amazing one. Do you have a list of vocalists you'd recommend people try and copy, apart from the guy who did Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer?
Anyone that you already know, because that saves half the work.
Right.
If you've already kind of have the melody in your head.
Yeah. If you can hum it, you can play it. Allegedly. Yeah.
Or at least you have a start. You don't have twice the homework. One thing I found for getting these on guitar is to try to get the melody on one string as much as possible. So, for example, like Holy Diver, that's, and it opens up the slides.
Right.
Now, when I say slide, of course, you can slide with the slide, but you can also slide with your finger. And, I developed hellacious calluses from not only bending, but also sliding so much.
Gotcha.
And, but you don't paint yourself into a corner. Let me explain that. Like, it's so easy with guitar to, like, everything's going great, and then you're on a note, you realize, like, I can't make the transition to the next note because I need a finger here and all my fingers are over here.
Right.
And they won't go. So that's like, so you have to kind of pre-plan your transitions or know the common transitions that happen in the style.
Right.
And so when you're going horizontally, you're kind of always set up to do that.
Right.
But if I played, more vertically, that's more likely to happen. And plus, just some slides aren't even available. If I went, that's on two strings vertically, I can't slide.
Right.
But if I go there, I got this slide all day.
Gotcha.
So instead of going, that's just, but.
And that was all one string. And I guess because if you think about it, and this is my small brain, the voice is effectively a one-string instrument. You're just going up and down.
We've got falsetto.
Yeah, that's true. That's the string jump.
But one thing to practice that I did before this was I'd practice playing playing blues changes.
Okay. On
one string. Because normally, with blues, as guitar players, we have our licks.
Yeah.
If we want to play in the C, we're going to go to the C fret.
Right.
And do our. And do that, and then the band takes care of the changes.
Right.
But if you have to play the changes, it's like, okay, there's my root. The four chord. So that's the tough one. Because normally, you have to have a drink on me.
Yep.
But to get it on one string, and then again. So to figure that, and the 5 chord, just hit the root and you're safe.
Gotcha. Yeah. But that does have more of a vocal-like quality by virtue of the fact
it slows you down.
Yeah.
Because physically you can't go, you can't get away with that anymore. And it's not like I'm saying I'm going to lose all the shred forever.
Right.
But it's so nice to have another dimension to get a grip on.
And talking of dimension, going off subject a bit, there's fascinating me watching you play Man on the Silver Mountain, because a lot of people go, you've got to up-pick it, but you're actually using hybrid picking, which I believe is how he plays.
No, I can't do hybrid picking.
What were you doing?
I should call it Dio picking, because I put the pick inside my finger.
Okay.
And then
you're
I
doing
use my thumb and just whatever. So it's all plugged. So there's the pick is just.
Oh, gotcha. The pick is gone.
The pick's just waiting for later.
Gotcha.
I call it the pick tuck, because I'm tucking the pick.
Now, how quickly can you do that?
Well, here's the thing. There's 3 stages.
Go on.
I can get it from here to the Emu pretty quick.
That's the Emu?
This is the Emu, because and I use the Emu a lot, because the Emu is really good for it has a lot of skin here for muting.
Right.
So for slide playing, here's the exercise. To be able to, and not as opposed to this. That you want to be able to stop, put the brakes on, and all the brakes are all this skin around here. If I play like this, then these pull back. I don't have I can still do it, but I'm not happy. You see how my face kind of went,
Yeah.
But here, the Emu is really good at, and that's for slide. Because without that, it's just a mess.
Gotcha.
So you can really get control. And so it's like muting. So from that, you push. Let's see. You push this. Let me do it. I'm gonna do that. You actually just kind of push your second finger out and it goes in there. So from there to the Emu, I can do pretty quick.
Wow.
Now once I'm in the Emu.
Magic.
Once I'm in the Emu, I can go standard.
Gotcha.
So that's that trick. So it's 3. That's like 1, 2, 3.
This was David Blaine-esque
and
stuff
back,
here.
So that's the thing. Now I can't flip sticks yet.
No.
David, I wouldn't be able to do the Tommy Lee, but I do that all the time, because this is so useful. It's kind of Van Halen,
right?
Eddie's stuff, or all that.
And it's hinting on, it's on the verge of pinch harmonic as well, that you're getting.
This is great for pinch harmonics.
And that's funny, like the 3-fingered, like the Emu is how James Hetfield plays.
Like I didn't know about. I love James Hetfield's rhythm playing.
Yeah,
it's more skin on the pick.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so you're less likely to drop him. As a kid, I probably just try to hold on to it for dear life. So and also this, when I learned to do that years later, when I went to school, and for the real fast picking, it seemed to open up that somewhat. But it would hurt. Like if I spent all day doing fast picking exercises, the side of my nails start to get a little sore.
Gotcha.
And so I found like there's one on the tour, if we do my song Technical Difficulties, that and that's like there's no breaks.
Yeah.
Just picking the whole freaking song, and that I'll just be like, oh. So a lot of times I'll switch over to the Emu. And I think my pick harmonics are a little more successful.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it's not quite as fast, but with speed, I'm more likely to be fired from a band playing too fast than playing too slow.
Yeah.
This one gets worn down from the Emu, from strumming.
Right.
The side of that, just if I'm doing a lot of or the kind of Hendrix, like So that's a lot of fun to be able to blast away.
Yeah. And your thumb use now, when like Richie Blackmore does a lot of like octave stuff, be it in G or otherwise, you always use your thumb.
That's makes it movable.
Right.
Yeah. Or on the Dio album, we got the was it? I gotta play that.
Oh.
Yeah, the boom, ba-da, boom,
Yep, yeah, no, it's that triplet feel.
Blindmore has some, like a lot of his riffs are either single note or those little sort of inverted power chords.
Yeah, yeah.
And the other discovery was Geezer Butler.
Unbelievable, right?
He never hits the low note. Now I'm thinking like, Sabbath,
right.
It's the heaviest, the pioneers of heavy music. And I'm thinking, well, heavy, it's got to be low note, right? It's heaven and hell. That he's on the, I mean, it's got to play guitar, so an octave higher, but he's on there. And then when it goes like, up to, he plays up, he's up there.
Yeah.
Rarely, and it's like across the board, I was like, what's going on? It sounds great.
Yeah.
I played on bass on the album too, and again, I was like, man, these bass players are so much smarter than me. They think of the coolest stuff, and
you
never
got
would have
some
thought
great,
of it.
and it was because it was Bain, because I think the Rainbow stuff was Jimmy Bain, and he of course went with Ronnie.
There was one bass player I hadn't looked at the liner notes, so I didn't know who he was until I researched for the record. Craig Gruber.
Oh, okay.
Played on Man in the Silver Mountain. If you listen to the bass line of that song, it's like a disco parlor. and
That's a cool line.
When I first heard it, I'm like I don't know if I can play that. But then I played it, and it fits perfectly.
Gotcha.
Then I started like doing some of my, just after the record's done, doing some of my own songs, and I was like, well, let me try. And it's like the really valuable bass line to have in your bass toolbox.
Right.
It really fits good. And I'm exaggerating. I'm making it more disco-y than it needs to be.
Yeah, I hear you.
But that's a useful little line on learning that one, and then the Jimmy Bain stuff in general was just like physically demanding.
Right.
For stand up and shout, to just at the end I was like drenched in sweat and my hands hurt.
It's like a workout, yeah. Now, talking of stand-up and shout, I remember reading in my good friend Amit did an interview with you in Guitar World recently, Metallica, which was great, by the way, really entertaining. You talked about the fact that Vivian Campbell, who I think is an incredibly he was like 21 or 22 on those first two Dio albums, just a kid, but he was doing, like, we were talking earlier about, Don't Talk to Strangers, like that. Like those cool chords he was playing, like I call them the George Lynch chords.
Oh yeah.
Like the semi-augmented stuff.
Yeah. And here I've got to decide: is it the Emu or the other one?
Yeah, and he's going.
Oh, the fretted version.
Like I call that the Lynch chord.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned in the interview in Guitar World that there was a lick he does, which is a Gary Moore-esque thing, like this.
Oh yeah, I can't do that.
End of the world. And what's funny is like Gary Moore was the English equivalent of Eddie Van Halen, I guess, for people like myself, because I'm Vivian's age. Yeah. So you had Vivian, you had Phil Colleen, who's an amazing guitar player, as I'm sure you know, and his cohort in Def Leppard. And also John Sykes, they all do that lick.
Oh, really, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, they all do that lick, and it's from End of the World.
The lick, like, or no, is that right?
That would be A, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. It was in Stand Up and Shout,
right,
where I had to do that.
But so you ended up doing it
that modulated to B, I think, the solo. So I'm in B, and there you've got. Now I can kind of cheat if I don't pick it too much.
Right.
I can get something that at least it's not a mess. But they pick it.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
And that's I can't. That's a tangle for me.
Right.
So I thought, well, I know the notes. So I ended up stretching it out because I can get that as a fast thing. It's the same.
Yeah, no, it is. That's a huge stretch.
This one I can. So that one works for me.
Great, yeah.
So my apologies that I couldn't play it the way they did, but you have to do what works.
Yeah, no, it has a different flavor. Like everyone's toolbox is different, I guess.
Absolutely, and that's what's so cool about it. You hear the fast playing of Neil Schon, the fast playing of Yngwie, the fast playing of Gary Moore. It's all. I mean, there might be overlap here or there, but everybody's got their own touch and their own way of approaching it.
And it's funny, and go back to what you were saying earlier about sort of like that Dio part when he comes from below and comes back in. That's why I love Alan Holdsworth. He was always doing that lilting tremolo bar stuff where he'd come in from
and you go, this is my favorite recorded moment of that route is Aerosmith's song on the Night in the Ruts album, and the song goes. And there's a part where Joe Perry just goes, and they cranked it up super loud, and then they said, yo, and at the end, he gets the opening, and he's got it muted a little bit, so. And it's just the toughest, coolest sound thing I've ever heard in my life. Thank you, Joe Perry, for playing that.
Isn't it funny how sometimes something really simple that's actually hard to ape is weirdly more impressive than playing 9,000 notes in 3 seconds? Like
well, I think everybody, you find these moments.
Right.
For some reason, like the boogie woogie rhythm that Pat Thrall played on Boom Boom Buckles of Lights while Pat Travers is playing the solo, and he's just going like. I used to listen because it was panned.
Right.
You know, Pat Thrall on one side, Travers on the other. I would pan it to the rhythm part and just like loop that because the tone in his hands.
Yeah, and some of Pat Thrall's like that live album.
Yeah. Well,
if you listen,
it was Thrall playing the rhythm on that part.
Yeah, and some of those rhythm parts are just staggering.
They're so
staggeringly
cool.
good.
What's that one?
Making Magic, right? It's just great stuff. Yeah, that was the. And did you going off subject here? The Hugh Thrall album as well. Did you ever get into that?
Hugh Thrall. That's where I heard the. Just as you can.
We could carry on talking for hours and hours and hours, which means it has to be part 3 or part 4. Yeah, we forgot about Dio, but
well, I could do Glenn Hughes. What? Come together. That was it. I'll be in your town. We can work it out. Now that's I've never played that in my life.
Really?
And
that
the
wasn't
vocal line.
That was.
And that's what happens. You used to play a lot of vocal lines. You start knowing where the notes are.
Gotcha.
Because it's and it's because it changes from a essay question to a multiple choice question.
Gotcha.
Because like those are the notes that Dio sings.
Right.
You know,
right.
same. You know, it's a language, and you don't need every word in the dictionary. You just need the ones everybody uses every day.
Right. Now all the songs are great, but some of them were really, really deep, and you covered it all with guitar, like the intro to Holy Diver. That sounds like you aped the keyboard with guitar. How hard was that?
That was all a delay pedal.
Right.
The first thing I had to create was a low synth note.
Right.
So I just faded up with volume control, faded up the bass through a delay pedal with a long, long delay time and a lot of feedback.
Gotcha.
And then put a little, like a slight little chorus effect on it, the chorus pedal.
Right.
And just got that, and I think I double tracked it. So that way we get your thing going. And then the same thing with the chords. I actually kind of did one chord at a time.
Gotcha.
And then in Pro Tools you can move them around, and we could sort of assemble that part. Then all the little howls, all the little demon moans in there. And one of the trickiest ones was in Don't Talk to Strangers. There's a whisper.
Yeah, how did you do that?
And I thought, how am I going to get a whisper? And I ended up taking 2 distortion pedals to get hiss.
Okay.
You know, if you just.
Okay.
Let's get some hiss. And then I used a wah-wah pedal
That was your whisper?
After the to go, and then I used that to shape the word. And there's your whisper.
Good grief! Who would have thunk it? So white noise and a wah, and you've got your whisper.
The other one that I don't know if I remember it, but the organ sound on Kill the King.
Right.
Where I used to have like a Vance Leslie pedal.
Okay.
And the opening chord, it's in G, and I think the keyboard chord, I think it's doing that, like something like that, or one of those sort of a trill,
Yeah.
and so I did the Billy Gibbons trick. You know when Billy goes,
Okay.
and you only pick one of them,
Right.
because the other one just sort of fills up the hole.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So you don't have to go. You don't have to do that. And I did that with like Leslie. And it sounded so much like the organ, I couldn't believe it. So that was like, that would do organ trick.
Mission accomplished.
Leslie pedal with Billy Gibbons, and it sounds like you're playing the organ.
And the other one that, like I said, I love all the songs, but the one that really has a lot of depth and you don't realize till you listen to the song really closely is Heaven and Hell's got some amazing stuff going on it, and you aped that. How hard was that?
Well, that was a lot easier because they did it first.
Right, okay.
So it was, but it really made me listen. In fact, that was the one where just as we were mixing everything, I started to realize that there were more parts I had forgotten. And I had to quickly go, play them and send them to the engineers. Like, second verse, there's a harmony,
Right.
There's so many extra things in there. And it really, it breathes even more depth into the song. And it's also like one of the most amazingly simple solos where he hits like a... And then there's a delay at it.
Yeah.
So it's like, how long is that note? Full 2 bars.
Right.
I don't know if I've ever played a 2-bar note in my life until then. And to make that work, where it's interesting.
Yeah, and it is.
Where it's like really grabs you. That's one of the scariest things in the world. I don't, okay, here you go. Like, well, where's the stuff?
Yeah, where's the sweep
well,
up
I'm
edge?
quite fearful of 2-bar notes, and I admire Tony for doing it and doing it so well.
With 2 plastic fingertips, unbelievable. And light strings, as light as Billy. Right, to close, I could talk for hours and hours and hours with you, my friend, but I know we've run out of 2 batteries on cameras already, so
I got to get work on volume 2. So.
Yeah, please. So you've got the Dio album. What did we call the next Dio album?
I've got so many ideas. I was thinking of the Scandinavian metal album and have like TNT Europe, Yngwie, and whoever else. And I'm thinking of Lambretta.
Oh, good grief!
I love Lambretta.
TNT as well. Wow, yeah. That's a great.
TNT would be killer, because that stuff's so high.
Yeah.
Vocally, but not higher than that,
Yeah. So Paul, thanks so much for taking the time, and thanks once again for making a great record and making me go spend lots of money on records I used to have on vinyl, then on cassette. Now I've got them on CD. So my Rainbow collection, my Dio collection, and my good old Black Sabbath from the early 80s Dio era is intact. So let's finish by paying homage once again to the man who inspired the Dio album, not just a Dio album. What song would you like to finish with me playing Bad Rhythm on you?
I want to play one of the ones that I almost did but didn't quite. I bet we can handle it. It's called Rainbow in the Dark.
I think I remember that one.
And I'm going to play the riff once. You want to try it?
Yeah, give me 2 seconds and we'll do it. After 4, you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4.
my slide go?